think, I hope.
Hi, everyone. Wow, there's lots of you out there. Well, we are very lucky to be in the presence of two, I think, of the most interesting people in online media. We have here today Fred Santarpia, the Chief Digital Officer at Condé Nast, as well as David Perpitch, the General Manager of the Wirecutter, recently acquired by the New York Times. And today we're going to talk about a topic that's very both near and dear to my heart, because I care about the future of journalism and content, but also from an innovator's perspective, I love seeing and hearing about how companies are adapting and evolving in the face of industry challenges. So here we are to talk about the future of content monetization beyond display. So let's kick it off. Fred. Hi. Can we kick things off by talking about what you mean by beyond display? How has display advertising changed at Condé Nast over the last few years?
Sure.
So, can we hear it? No. Here we go. Try now.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So display is obviously changing quite a bit. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with Condé Nast specifically, we're a media company. We run 22 brands, iconic brands like Vogue, GQ, Vanity Fair, The New Yorker, which you know through our heritage in print magazines. But we're actually quite large on the digital side, over 100 million unique visitors each month and about 180 million social media followers. So display with that kind of scale is a major part of our business model, but we understand that it's changing significantly with clients. So I like to talk about Condé Nast as a business that's in transition, not just from print to digital, but from mature digital to future digital. Mature digital being selling lots of display against lots of scale on websites, and future digital being succeeding on multiple platforms where audience is going, with multiple form factors of content, video, voice, not just text and photo, and multiple business models. And that's what the future looks like, and we're preparing very aggressively for the shift from standard display into some of those other business models.
And David, so Wirecutter, for those who don't know, and David's going to quickly fill us in as well, the Wirecutter has a very different approach. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how display has evolved with you guys?
Sure. Is this on? All right.
Yeah, speak loudly.
Yeah.
Can everyone hear?
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
so Wirecutter, we like to think that we've kind of in some ways moved beyond display. For those of you who don't know what Wirecutter is, we're a product review and recommendation site. You have a question, what vacuum cleaner should I buy? What's the best blender? You name it, you go there. We've reviewed it, we make a recommendation. If you click the buy button, we make an affiliate commission through our partners. And so the way that we look at the business and the opportunity is really around performance marketing, which we think is a big opportunity overall.
Great, and so if you had to summarize it into a sentence, because I always love these challenges, how would you describe your business model?
Well, display is the business of today. It's a very, very successful business, but I think in the next, so that's what I would say today we look at that as defending our core business, and I think in the future, and when I think future, I think the next 3 years, I think that business model is going to be much more diversified, and it's going to be a lot more branded content, creative services, certainly video, data products are going to play a very large role. I think commerce is something that is naturally going to grow quite significantly. So if display is the lion's share of the revenue today, I could see it making up less than half of the revenue in the next 2 to 3 years.
Cool. David, could I just summarize it as mainly performance marketing?
Yeah, mainly performance marketing. I think the thing that is very compelling for us is much in the way that when you go to search and you have kind of high performance advertising there, performance marketing and affiliate works the exact same way. We're connecting high intent audiences to marketers who actually want to reach them and are willing to pay for it.
Cool. So I'm not going to ask them a question that I've heard them answer before, and I think it's a really interesting the way that both these guys think about the future of content and what the evolution of content is within their businesses. Fred, do you want to kick it off? What does content mean for you guys at Condé?
Well, sure. So the first thing I'll say is, we're a portfolio company. So we represent brands like The New Yorker, and then we represent brands like Glamour, and we represent brands like Wired and GQ. So the first thing I'd say is the approach to content is not the same across the board. So there's no silver bullet answer on what the future of content looks like. It all really depends on the brand and the audience that brand resonates with. So I think our guiding principle, for each brand that we operate at Condé Nast is, what does that brand actually have authority in, right? And instead of trying to chase clicks or scale, endless scale, we think more about, okay, what does the consumer really want from this brand? What resonates, and how do we really focus on that? When you do lots of different opportunities in also utility for a brand,
Yeah.
right? And what else does that brand have permission to offer to consumers with real authority? What does the consumer accept as authentic from that brand? And that's where new products, new services, and other opportunities start to come to play and become very interesting.
I agree. And David, you talk about this a lot of like service journalism or content as a utility. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you mean by that and how that's
Sure.
evolved from the old days of newspapers?
Sure. So I've been at the Wirecutter for about 8 months. Before that, I spent about 7 years at the New York Times, working both with the pay model and helping launch that, as well as their new product innovation group. And one of the realizations that we had was that when we made the switch from print to digital, we thought, okay, well, we're a newspaper company, we'll just drop the paper and now we're a news company. But a newspaper did way more than just provide news. There were so many different things that we were doing for our readers, from helping them figure out what to cook, to what to watch, or where to find a job, and some of that stuff isn't coming back. But I think one of the things that we've realized is that there's a huge opportunity not just to provide the news, but to help people answer these questions day to day. And at the Times, we've been launching new products like cooking, which now has a subscriber base, which we launched more recently. We have things like crosswords and games. We think that there's opportunity beyond that. When we were thinking about what to buy as an opportunity for us, of how to help readers figure out what to purchase in their lives, we saw Wirecutter as that opportunity, which is why we bought it.
Yeah, I find that really interesting that you think about content not just as something that you read, but it's something that performs a service for your users, and that's where alternate forms of monetization can come from. So let's dive in specifically to one of those, which is commerce, which I know both of you guys do in really interesting ways. Can you guys both talk a little bit about what you guys are doing in the realm of content to commerce monetization and how you kind of arm yourselves up from a team perspective to do that?
You go for it.
Sure. Is this one on?
Yeah?
Yep. So we really have a three-pronged approach on the content to commerce side. We think about it in
Speak
terms
up.
of
Speak closer to it.
we think about it in terms of our product development, our business development, and then our editorial strategy. First and foremost, from a product development standpoint, we're fortunate enough that all of our brands ride on a single platform now. So the functionality that we build into the platform scales very easily across all. So that means the work that we're doing to integrate our data targeting to drive purchase intent, or things that we're doing around entity extraction from photography to be able to identify products in photography, scales really nicely across the house. From a business development standpoint, the partnerships that we do, whether they're with general platform companies like Amazon or more specific vertical companies like Farfetch, those integrate into the platform and scale for everybody as well. But then on the editorial side, we take a very vertical approach, meaning instead of going horizontally across and having an editorial team that is either running a commerce-focused brand site or some other manifestation, we really try to we are embedding editorial resources at each of the brands who can speak in the brand's voice and who can create content really with a purpose. In this case, helping to identify products that our editors really strongly believe in, /organically believe in, and making the process of connecting the consumer from that content to actually purchase much more streamlined and easy for the consumer.
And do you get your normal editors creating the content about products, or do you have a separate team to do that?
No, it all rolls up into our mainline editorial team. So,
Wow.
in the case of a GQ, we have invested incremental editorial resources on that team, reporting into the editorial team of GQ, and they're identifying their own products, the things that they want to highlight. It's very organic. It's built into existing editorial franchises, and we're finding the conversion rates from that to be, quite high.
David, how about you guys? Is it similar, or do you take a different attack?
So different, partially because the Times acquired Wirecutter. Wirecutter was a separate editorial team with a mission of helping people figure out what to buy really easily. And so all of the journalism that we create is with that specific purpose. And I think that was actually one of the mistakes that the Times made when we tried integrating affiliate originally, which was, hey, let's just write whatever we're going to write and then slap on, affiliate links or commerce to go with it. And if a reader's not in that mindset and it's not being helpful, then they're not going to convert. And so first and foremost, it's about having the right kind of editorial team, whether it's integrated or distributed or separate, to actually really answer those reader questions.
Yeah, look, let me just add on that. I think UX is a really important part of this. I'll just give you an example. On GQ, you could have your standard photo gallery experience, which, might have a little buy link at the bottom of it, but we redesigned those galleries to think through it from a commerce perspective. So when the image comes up, you can focus on it, you can expand it, you can take a look at it. The buy button is very prominently featured right in the image. So we're thinking through these things much more through a purchase funnel experience than just flipping through endless page views in a photo gallery.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference as well.
It's been so interesting observing like the role that commerce has had across lots of different publishers, and I guess the way that they've all brought their voice and their own UX to that. Like BuzzFeed's had a really interesting approach to it, and similarly have had sub-brands, and I've seen tons of others do, it's been a really interesting space. So let's get personal here though. What has worked and what hasn't worked?
So I'll start. Wirecutter was founded as a mission-driven company, which is part of the reason that the Times acquired it. And so first and foremost, we're always saying, okay, where are there opportunities of need to help our readers? Our editorial team makes decisions regardless of whether we make money on those products. Oftentimes we're trying to set up and go into categories where we can make money, but we don't always. We have, sometimes we even recommend not to buy things like we did recently with a Thermomix blender, but there are other products as well. So overall, some things make money, some things don't, but we do believe that that's the foundation for long-term trust with our readers and the best long-term business decision. I think the place that we've been doing a lot of experimentation with is with the collaborations with the New York Times. We're finding ways at the right moments to surface our picks in a way that's contextually relevant. And I think, once again, if a reader is in that mindset where they're interested in buying something, it works really well. We created something called 5 Cheapest Things That Could Disproportionately Improve Your Life. We listed a series of products that we thought would be helpful to New York Times readers, and that does phenomenally well.
Wow.
When we slap on an affiliate link after the fact, if something's been written, it doesn't.
Yeah, I think for us, the simple answer is letting editorial lead, right? Like
Letting what, sorry?
Letting editorial lead. Like, it's hard to have a central group just come up with affiliate tent poles and franchises and then trying to fit a square peg in a round hole across the house. I'll use GQ as an example again. Their existing franchise, Best Stuff, it resonates with users, and our job should be figuring out how to make that the most valuable version of that it can be, right? And trying to create new things for GQ to program is a failing strategy.
Interesting. All right, let's go even juicier now. Let's talk about our favorite or least favorite topic, Amazon. Are they a friend? Are they an enemy? Are they a frenemy? How do you think about them in relation to your business?
Look, I think you have to have a relationship. In this particular space, they've been easy to work with and a good partner to us. I think we're very cognizant to not put all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So we have lots of partnerships that are general and everybody benefits from, but then some of our brands, particularly in the fashion and luxury space, need real specific vertical support. And we're even doing things in the travel space or the food space. Bon Appetit, restaurant reservations, that's commerce, right?
Yeah.
Pitchfork, which is our music editorial brand. We're doing things around ticketing, which is commerce. So, it's hard to take a one-size-fits-all approach across the house. Amazon has its place, and so far they've been good to work with for us.
What
You
he
guys-
said.
yeah.
The only thing I would add beyond what Fred said is that Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, these aren't just companies, they're platforms that are shaping the world. And I think it's not a question of whether they're a friend or an enemy, but how do you engage with them in the right way to maximize your business and make sure that you're helping them at the same time.
I think it's interesting though, because there's a lot of publishers that get hooked on the crack that is the money that they can make from Amazon, so to speak. And it can be hard to take that diversification strategy when in the short term that probably means you're not making as much money as you could, but in the longer term it's a wiser strategy.
Well, I also think if you can be smart about your resources and you can manage more partners, your yield is actually going to be much higher too. So it's not just a business strategy to diversify yourself, but there's actual real yield impact to your business.
All right, let's, in the time that we've got, let's cover a couple of other interesting topics. Let's talk about data and the increasing opportunities for monetizing content using data partnerships or data licensing. Do you guys do that, and how do you think about data? I think you guys have got a really interesting approach.
Yeah, we invested heavily in our infrastructure, and we've built our own platform, Condé Nast Spire, and really in a nutshell what it does is it takes our first-party database built off of years of real subscription data, home addresses from our consumers, and behavioral data on our 100 million plus visitors each month, and we've basically integrated that data set with online and offline purchase activity, credit cards, debit cards, e-receipts. So now we can create, predictive models that marry our, behavioral data, our content consumption data, and this offline data. And what that allows us to do is be much more robust and specific about our consumers. In the past, just to give a quick example of how it works, if you were a consumer looking to buy a laptop, we might have told you should advertise on Wired because it's very contextually relevant. But now, because we've integrated these data sets, I can find the consumer on Vogue or on Glamour who's highly likely to be in market to purchase a laptop. And that, of course, leads to higher conversion rates and return on investment for our clients. It's been a very successful strategy for us in the market this year.
I'll just say really quickly, I think for us, we're just at the beginning of this journey, but the type of content you create has different types of value in terms of the data. And so for us, high intent, journalism and content, that data is really valuable and ways to unlock it.
Yeah. So I'm actually doing a debate later about the role that Facebook and Google have on media companies and whether it's a beneficial impact or a negative impact. Can you give me some tidbits as to what I should be talking about then?
I think David answered the question. I mean, these are platforms that are shaping the marketplace right now. So,
but are they good for you, or are they ultimately dangerous?
I mean, look, I can't judge them on fears of the future, right? To date, they've been great partners. We have multiple touch points with Facebook. We have multiple touch points with Google. I think both platforms have accelerated our business in numerous ways, and we're going to continue to partner with them going forward.
Yeah, and I just say, the great thing about those platforms is we've reached a larger audience than we ever would have otherwise. So there are benefits, but they're huge behemoths in the industry, and they're grappling on their own with what are their responsibilities as well.
And then final point before we wrap up, what was the kind of innovation or cultural shift that you think would most transform your business for the better in the next few years? Let's look beyond, not just beyond display and not beyond what you're doing now, but beyond the next few years.
I actually think it's happened already. I think it's the political climate. I think if you look at, and speaking just on behalf of what's happening in the US marketplace, the political climate, fake news, the divisive nature of the debate right now has just put a focus back on quality journalism and long-form journalism, and we're seeing such an increase in subscribers and more people willing to pay for content, and I think that trend is only going to continue, and this could represent a shift for us in how we think about not advertising but monetizing our content in general, and we're quite excited about that.
Yeah. I would just echo that. I think at the end of the day, as long as you're in the business of creating content worth paying for, there are a lot of ways to unlock value from that.
Oh, people paying for content, that's going to be an exciting future. Excellent. Well, thank you. Help join me in thanking Fred and David today. Thank you, guys.